Very good. We'll start off with Representative Dunbar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good afternoon, Matt and Brenda. Good to see you again. I don't know if you had an opportunity to hear the Department of Revenue's testimony this morning in regard to the governor's revenue assumptions on combined reporting. By any chance, did you hear that?
I did not know.
Okay. Well, first off, you know, in years past, the revenue assumptions were always zero revenue coming in the first year, which coincided with what the IFO said also. Last year, I believe the IFO had projected a minus $2 million, and revenue had projected a minus 7.2. This year, with the exact same proposal, revenue is now proposing $239 million of additional revenue to come in. Have they had any conversations with you about how they got to that number?
No, we haven't spoken to them about the estimates yet, but we plan to for our analysis of proposals, which will come out next month.
Okay, so you have yet to come out with anything, but in years past, you had always said anywhere between 8 to 12% of total CNIT, which would be about $350 million essentially at its maturity, but nothing in the first year.
That's correct, and not having seen the language, I'm not sure, but we think it would be largely a wash in the first year.
Right, right. And their assumption was that based upon some returns that they had seen after the Federal Jobs Act was passed, that some companies may actually start making estimated tax payments early. Do you agree with that assumption?
I'm not aware of any changes that would have occurred that would trigger that behavior.
Yeah, there's nothing legislatively that would make that happen. Okay, so then if you would, once you do your analysis, if you would fall back where you were last year, then this budget, the assumptions they're making would leave this budget unbalanced. Is that correct?
That's correct. If we were at the same spot, we wouldn't include $240 million.
Okay, very good. And I just wanted to, when do you expect to have your analysis done?
I think it'll be mid-March, late March, right around there.
Okay, and are you basing that on any present legislation that's pending before us, or you just?
We would reach out to them to see what the governor's proposal was if we get some detail and base it on that if we could.
Okay. And I also wanted to touch base on the performance-based budgeting review that I know Brenda done yeoman's work on. We just finished year 2 on that. I don't know if you had any comments, suggestions, ideas, thoughts of how we're progressing. I do know that when Matt was with the board, he had mentioned about maybe doing less detailed, less activities and more detailed work. I don't know what your thoughts were on that, Brenda.
Yeah. So we have now 2 years under our belt. We did 5 agencies the first year and 6 agencies the second year. So we do have some lessons learned from the first 2 years. I think in the second year, our focus was on doing more work on the performance measures. We were able to start meeting with agencies earlier. We had more time. We were able to put a little bit more detail into categorizing the performance measures by output, efficiency, outcome, including more benchmark data with other states and also among the counties or regional level within the state. So I think our experience tells us that it's relatively easy or less time consuming to get the funding data because we have that information in SAP. But the performance measure data is where the time what takes up the bulk of our time. And so we wanted to focus those efforts on the larger activities where there's hopefully more data available when we're working with agencies.
And the way this is structured right now is each agency comes up once every 5 years. But there are different measurements that you leave them with that were suggested performance measurements. Do you think that's something that we should be doing on an annual basis and providing that information to decision makers? Or do you think we need some type of legislation to enforce that?
So I don't think there's anything that would require the agencies to do that with the IFO right now in terms of, and we've had discussions with, what does make sense in the interim years. So 5 years does seem like a long time to wait to come back and look at the measures.
And I think also the testimony I heard from both the DEP secretary and DCED secretary that they find it useful in helping them manage their own departments, but I think it's only if we continue to do it on an annual basis. So the plan right now is just do it once every 5 years and hope they do it in interim years? Is that where we're at?
I think it's probably going to be up to the budget office and the agencies, as well as, what is requested from the legislature. From our perspective, we have our hands full with the next year, so it would be difficult for us to go back and relook at all of the reports on an annual basis.
Okay, thank you.